All right, so let's take a look at these problems you're supposed to work on there. So remember, I want you to always sketch the picture. This will help you identify what you're looking for, right side, left side. Like this first question, 11, you should be able to identify, hey, is it going to be less than or more than 0.5? And that sketch is going to go a long way to helping you do that. Again, remember, the sketch doesn't have to be anything amazing. So like that's perfect. Put our mean right there. In the center, remember, since this is the standard normal curve, our mean is 0. And then I want z as 1.06, so that's going to be to the right. And we want the curve to the right. So we're looking for that shaded area there. And so the question is, it going to be more or less than 0.5? Well, since that is 0.5, we would have to be less than 0.5 or less than 50% of our data. So we should expect that value to be under that. Okay? And then if we were to find it exactly, all right, we take our z-score of 1.06. Okay, so we go to our table, we find 1.0. There's 1.0, and we're going to go across to 6. And we get 0.8554. Well, now you're like, well, that's greater than 50%. It is, but remember, this value is giving us the left side of the graph, and what we were looking for is the right side. And so that's why also the shading is helpful. Draw your sketch, remind you, hey, I'm looking for the right side. And so if we're looking for the right side, it then becomes 100 minus 85.54, or 1 minus 0.8554, and we get what? 14.46%. And that is definitely less than 50%. All right, so let's look at 2. Again, draw your sketch. All right, there's 0. We're looking for negative 2.16. So definitely less than 50. All right, and we want, oh, sorry, area to the right. See, I made a mistake. I did not read and shade. So I want area to the right. So we are more than 50. Because we're crossing over our mean, which means we're getting more than 50% of our area. And so for estimating that amount, right, 2 standard deviations, right, we have our 68.95. Okay, so I have 95 between there plus that little bit more. So I'm going to estimate it at, say, 97.1%. So now we want to find the area under that curve. Okay, you don't have to resketch it because it's the same sketch, so you can use that sketch down there. I'm going to take my z-score to our table. And we are negative this time. So we're negative 2.1. And we're going to go all the way over to 6. So 0.0154. And again, our estimation helps us because we said, hey, it has to be more than 50% at an estimation around 97. Well, that is definitely, even if we convert it, that becomes 1.54%. So that is way off. So remember, We are looking for the right side, which means we need to subtract from 100. And that gives us 98.46. All right, so I was off by a decent amount relative to what that distance is, but I had the right idea to remember to subtract from 100. All right, so let's look at our next one here. Find the area under the standard between, okay, so it's going to be between two values now. So there's my 0, there's my negative 1.5, there's my positive 1.25. And what we're going to do is we're going to treat these as individual problems, and then we'll talk about what we do from there, right? So let's start. We got 1.25. So 1.25, 0.8944, and then we had negative 1.5, and that was 0, and so 0.0668. All right, and I'm going to change the color here. Okay, so what we're looking for is, first we got the 1.25, which is that, and we found that to be 0.8944. And then we had our second one, which again was finding the left of this, which was 0.0668. And what we're looking for is the area in between those. So what we're really looking for is this orange area there. Well, and what we have is we have these two areas. So I have this red, which then bleeds into where this green is. Well, that first part, that red, if we could just figure out what that is, well, we can do that because that overlap red, which goes in the green, if I subtract that green amount, right, that subtracts and leaves us with just that. So to find this in between, 0.8944 minus 0.0668, which gives us 0.8276, or 82.76% between those two. All right, so let's do that one more time. We got 0. I got a negative 2.1165, so I'm going to round that to 1.7. And then we have negative 1.35. And so we get that and that. So if I can find my green and subtract that red portion, that's going to give us our leftover. So we'll go to our table and find both those values. All right, so negative 2, 1, all the way out to 7. So 0.0150. And then we had negative 1.3, negative 1.35. So 0.0885. So we'll take both of those back. So our green 0.0885, and we're going to subtract. And we end up with 0.0735 or 7.35%. Okay, so again, just drawing our sketch helps a bunch so we can see, hey, am I finding the left side or the right side? If I'm finding the right side, I need to subtract from 100. Am I finding in between? Well, the in between is just like doing two left values, and we subtract those two to find the in between. Now, some of this may still be a little confusing. We're going to get more practice with this as we continue through chapter 5. But as you practice more with this, you're going to become more confident and build that understanding of how to use Z-scores and how to take that table and go back and forth.